It's just that at the time I had moved back to my parents' house, after college, and they live in this super tiny small town of 250 people, like way up in the like the foothills, like right below the West Coast Range Mountains. And it was a 2-hour drive from this little tiny town to Sacramento, like 2 hours one way. But I was
Oh,
so, yeah, but I was so determined to do it. I just didn't even care. I would drive 2 hours, train for an hour and a half, and then drive home. And that's how much I wanted to do it. So I always tell people where there's a will, there's a way. If you want to do something, you're just gonna simply do it.
mm-hmm. So you had determination, ambition. You wanted to do something different after college. Because I went to college. It was community college, but but I can understand, especially we get out of school as a young person. Especially if you're looking for a job or work, or you want to find something that you know that give you some passion. And Uriah Faber, he is a top-notch former UFC champion. I think he also former Rex champion. I mean, uh, did pretty good for a career. I think he was supposed to make a comeback with another federation that was the Global Fighting League, but something like that. It's not. It's kind of funny. I know it's a bunch of mostly ex UFC other fighters, Holly Holmes, so many others who are going here, but they were supposed to have a fight coming up, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but then something happened. I don't know what's going on. So you come from a small town, and I can understand. I live in a small town, and went and start training. What was that experience like? Because jiu-jitsu, it's a totally different type of discipline compared to any other discipline.
Yeah, so I had never ever been in any sort of fight before I started training martial arts. So I was really shy about getting hit. Like I didn't know what that would be like to get punched in the face. Like nobody had ever punched me in the face before. So of course I started with jujitsu, and then one of my teammates talked me into competing. She's my best friend today. So she talked me into going to a tournament with her, and I did really well in the tournament. And then I just got addicted to competing and started, getting real confidence in my jujitsu. And it turns out I was a bit of a natural at grappling, but also I feel like it's not just like talent, physical talent. It's just a mentality. Like I grew up on a farm, and I'm just gritty and grimy and just tough, and that's what it takes to be good at any martial art, but especially jiu-jitsu. Like you just have to be tough, and you have to be determined and be committed to learning and getting through the hard parts of it, of course. Um, and so a few months after I started jiu-jitsu, then I started training just a little bit of boxing. But again, I was really shy about getting hit. I was really nervous about it. So it took time. It took about 4 years before I did my very first Muay Thai smoker fight. But I did well. I won, and then I did lots of other smoker fights. Um, Struggled a little bit to like really find my groove in that. And then when I took my first two amateur MMA fights, I actually lost both of them by decision. Not like I got beat up or anything like that, but I just, got outscored and lost, 2 rounds to one. And yeah, and then I found my coach that I work with today, Daniel Brito, and we've been working together since 2019 really consistently. And then that's when I really found my groove in mixed martial arts, figured it out, went 5 straight undefeated fights as an amateur, and then went ahead and turned pro, and now I'm 5-2 as a pro. So yeah, it's definitely been quite the journey.
Yeah. So Dan came along, he polished you up, he worked on a few things you were weakness at and made you stronger. You're good jiu-jitsu, but the thing was, I don't know, I've been in a few fights, and I know I don't like get hit in the face either, or anywhere in the body. I mean, it hurts, but
Totally.
you know what? I respect anybody who gets into it, be it boxing, be it Muay Thai, be it karate, be it any kind of combat sports, who get into a ring or a cage or anything with a person and is willing to take those hits and to throw those hits back. I mean, it's tough, especially if you look at for as women, because women, are like even in boxing, it's not as popular. But it's growing some momentum a little bit. And you mentioned Ronda Rousey. I think that was, I think some ladies have interviewed before that told me that was a person that inspired them, or someone like Chris Cyborg, or someone like I think what was her, I forgot her name. She used to
Misha
be
Tate,
not Misha Tate. God, she's a
Gina
back.
Carino.
Gina Carano, that's one right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's one that was really popular back in the day. I mean, she has parlayed her life to something else outside of mixed martial arts. Also, quite a few ladies. Is there anybody that you are a big fan of outside of Ronda in the sport, both male or female?
Oh, gosh, I'm such a fan of all these ladies, but I think Valentina Shevchenko, how can you not be a fan of hers? And just,
The Bullet.
yes, so much heart, so much spirit, and I just love the saga that she had with Alexa Grasso, like those losses that she took, but she knew that she was better. She knew that she could do it. She just needed to make some adjustments. But she just it didn't break her spirit. Those losses didn't break her. It just made her better, and I can really identify with that because I'm not perfect and I'll mess up and lose. But you know what? You just go back the gym, you fix your mistakes, and then you try again. That's it. Like losing doesn't make you a loser. You just, losing and failing is a part of life. It's just about dealing with it in a healthy way, and it's about using it to your advantage. You have to use everything to your advantage in life. You have to take the cards that you've been dealt, and you have to figure out how to play them, and that's it. And that's the beauty of martial arts. Just having faith in yourself, having confidence in yourself, believing in yourself, and just working on yourself, just continuing that journey because it's the journey that's worth it. It's the journey is why we do it, not just that destination.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Valentina Shevchenko. She's a great fighter. Her sister, recently just announced her retirement. We don't know. I think Valentina's gonna keep fighting. This is my theory of Valentina Shevchenko. This is a theory of mine. She's the daughter of Ivan Drago. I believe she is. I don't know. Maybe he's not a real. Some reason it's not a real character, but she goes in there. I mean, she's just stone faced and she's serious. And her skill set. She's like, there was. I think it was one time there was a talk of her maybe doing the Black Widow movie a few years ago. Because one time her hair was red, and I thought she was that movie. She did that movie Holly with Halle Berry. But she's an amazing fighter. I'm a fan of hers. I think she did pretty good in her career. And also, fight with Alexa Grasso was pretty good. The first one, it broke my heart when she lost. That second one, that was some bullshit. I'm gonna tell you right now. She won. Just one knockdown. That's not enough. But she came back and she just dominated. She just came in. I think she's had to fix a few things. Like I got a friend. His name is the coach Shelton Harrison. He talks about MMA. He's also done interviews. He interviewed Valentina and said like her coach Pavel. He has a plan. He always has a plan. So what? So you have been fighting for a good while. You also had titles. I know your last title was with A1. I think that was the federation. So
Yes.
and yeah, and you are the champion 145, and you should be proud. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull up a video from that fight. It's a little interview she did afterwards. So I want y'all to check it out. And like I said, give a shout out to it because, like I said, it's tough, especially for any person to get this in this world of combat sports, and especially again for a woman. So here we go.
How did it feel to capture that win via unanimous decision? Did it feel like a little bit of retribution for like how Johnny had mentioned that fight 9 months ago?
Yes, it did. The fight 9 months ago, I was winning every single second of that fight until I got too aggressive, overcommitted too much on the throw, and allowed her the opportunity to slip onto my back. So it was really important to me to get this fight and important to prove that I am the superior fighter. I am the superior martial artist. And finally, I did that tonight. And honestly, it wasn't even as dominant as I wanted it to be. I wanted to do even better and finish her, but that's okay. I'll take a unanimous decision.
You battled back from that first round. Can you kind of guide the fans through that exactly and what was going through your mind? Was it feeling a little deja vu-ish? I mean, can you guide the fans through that?
The first round was pretty wild. There was just a lot of punches. No, it didn't really feel deja vu because the very first fight, it was almost all grappling in the first fight. So this fight, I'm glad we got to throw more. I'm glad I got to feel that. And, she hits pretty good, but nothing that's going to knock anybody out. So I just bit down on my mouthpiece and just threw back. And that was it.
Who is next for you? I know you said you had a laundry list of opponents that are possibly waiting in the rafters, but I think one that's possibly going to be looking at this matchup with a little bit of more vigor, Jaylene Robledo, a lady that you had a very close matchup with. What would be your thoughts about Tom Anderson running that one back?
So, look, I didn't feel like the fight between Jay and I was that close. I really didn't. I felt like I dominantly won that fight. I was super confident. I don't see any reason to run that back right now, but I'm more than happy to run that back at some point in the future. I wouldn't mind fighting her again at all. But for right now, I do have a list of girls that have not fought before, a bunch of girls who are under 5 fights, 2-1, 2-2, 3-2, that kind of thing. So those would be really good, appropriate matchups for me. And again, I'm looking to grow and build myself and then on to tougher and tougher opponents.
Anybody in particular that you want to make the call out here for tonight?
Okay, well, I don't want to call her out. I was going to just respectfully maybe send her an Instagram message and be like, would you please fight me? But someone that I have in mind, respectfully, is Krista Timms. She's 2-1. She also is a black belt. She's on the East Coast. So, but I do feel like we would be a good matchup. So if her camp decides that it would also be a good matchup, I think we'd be a great match for each other. So I'm hoping maybe her.
Now 3-1 in your professional MMA career, possibly looking to add on to that even more. You said you had a birthday coming up in November, correct? What day was that?
November 28th.
November 28th, couple days after Thanksgiving, and possibly looking to have a fight to add on to the celebrations of the laundry list Thanksgiving birthday. Why not throw a fight in there? Michael Hernandez of MLH Media, and we're going to be signing out over here at A1 Combat 24 with KillJoy, Joy, and Pendell after her A1 Combat featherweight championship victory. Hey, congratulations on your win.
Well, congratulations, champ. I mean, it must have been a pretty good fight, and your opponent was, you dominated your opponent, as you say. It wasn't the domination you wanted, but still, you beat the girl, and you should be proud of yourself.
Totally. And it just feels really good to get a loss back, to get a loss corrected, because the thing is, like, I'm so much better of a martial artist than that girl. I'm so much better of a fighter. My skill set is so far superior. And in the first fight, I was just like absolutely dominating and had her like in submission attempt after submission hold. Like, I was really close to finishing her several times. And she's very squirmy, and she just kept, wiggling and surviving and just like barely escaping, and got saved by the bell one round, And then, but then I just got a little aggressive, made a little mistake. She got on my back, and that just like burned, But again, those kind of things will make you stronger as long as you accept it with the correct mindset and you go ahead and fix the things, fix the mistakes. And honestly, it's good for the ego to get humbled here and there, and it's good just to remind myself, of course, that I'm human like everybody else, and I goof up on occasion. And it's good to goof up more towards the beginning of my career, rather than towards the end. So no, it definitely made me better to have to go through that loss, but then to get her back and just have like a nice dominant win over her, and just prove once and for all, like, yeah, I'm way better than her. And then I can move on to more opponents, Oh, and also I just want to say, Amanda Nunes is another fighter that I have a lot of admiration for, not just because of course, everything she's accomplished, but how she accomplished it. And what I mean by that is she actually lost her professional debut as well. And she, had some wins, had some losses, had some wins, had some losses at the beginning of her career. And then she really settled into her groove and then just like was defeating, everybody. And then again, kind of like got caught slipping by Juliana Pena, but then just was like, no, like, I'm better than her. Yeah, like, I lost, but I know I'm better than her. And then trained, got that rematch, and then, got the dominant victory over her again. So I just feel that, I identify with Amanda in a lot of ways too. And I just really look up to her and admire her mindset. And I feel like so far our careers have had some real similar trajectories. And I hope they continue to, because she's fantastic and amazing and, one of the greatest women fighters of all time. So that's my goal too. It's just continue to grow myself and be the very best I can be.
Well, personally, I'm not a big fan of Amanda Nunes. I'm not really a big fan of hers. I mean, she holds up the title too long when she gets it. But honestly, she's a good fighter. I remember when she fought Kat Zingano, she was whooping Kat's tail, but then Kat snuck it on her, and boom, that's the thing. She just, like you said again, sometimes you get so much into it, you think you got it. Then, like what happened with Holly Holmes when she fought Misha Tate, she was whooping Misha Tate. Misha Tate could take a beating. Honestly, that girl can take a beating, and and she just snuck it on Holly Holmes. I mean, she was a bigger opponent, she's stronger, but and also better hands. But she's a better wrestler. She knows how to do the ground. And that's the thing is, I think everybody has their strength. Like with Ronda, she was a great judoka. She knows how to do the submissions. I think Amanda's stronger hands. You look at Valentina, she's just an overall great skill set. I think it's not one thing she's not good at. Maybe just not as strong compared to other competitors. That's why she went down to 125, because even though she's beating girls in 135, it was tough because sometimes she barely makes the weight. And any fighter, you should be proud of yourself when you go into the ring and you fight an opponent. And you fought this opponent twice, and her name is Carlina Chandler. Any relation
Carlene,
to Carlene?
Carlene Chandler, and yes, she's the little sister of Chelsea Chandler.
Did you just see
it-
the Chelsea's got ragdoll just in Kansas?
Wait, say it again.
Chelsea got ragdoll.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, Edwards beat her to the Pope. I think they pulled her too soon. I think she needed more time to stew a bit. I think, after that fight with Norma Dumont, when she's doing like a track star, she's a track star, but I think maybe you might see her coming back because she did fight 145 in Invicta. I don't know if she don't get any more better wins in the belt, she might come back down to y'all girls.
Yeah, and I could definitely see myself having that match with Chelsea. Within the next couple of years, I could definitely see that. But also, I fought Carlene 3 times. Actually, I fought her as an amateur, and then I fought her twice as a professional. And I TKO'd her as an amateur. I took her down and just ground and pounded her. So I actually have 2 wins over Carlene.
We should be proud of that. Sometimes people forget about the amateur part because we become a pro. That's the big focus. But yeah, it takes time and journey and working. And you mentioned your coach, and y'all have a good relationship. And is he a fighter too, or he's been just exclusively a trainer?
He's mostly just a trainer. He had a couple fights back in the day, but he never went professional or anything like that. But the interesting thing about my coach is he worked as a bouncer for something like 15 years and just was in tons and tons, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of all sorts of altercations, street fights, like fighting multiple people at once and all sorts of just crazy stuff. So I love that because that's a part of life that I never experienced, and nor do I want to. but it's so interesting. Like a lot of what he talks about with me is, mentality stuff, and then just how to really fight. Like it's not just about like singular skill sets, which you need for sure. And I have this great skill set in jiu-jitsu, and then of course I have my skill sets in Muay Thai and boxing. And he really works with me on my boxing a lot. Like that's his focus with me. That's been his focus with me since the beginning, and I've gotten way more confident in my hands. But just blending all the different martial arts and blending the styles, and again, just how to fight, And he's a real life like street fighter, So he's been so helpful to me. I can't even explain how much. And of course, every athlete needs to find the coach that they click with. Not every coach is going to be good for every athlete and vice versa, but the dynamic between Brito and I is exactly what I always needed. And I'll for sure have him in my corner, for the rest of my career. I won't fight without him in my corner.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. If you know the classic movie, Rocky Balboa and Mick, and that, how Mick trained Rocky and said, you're going to be a big, greasy, fast Italian tank. And and want you to win, and then especially if he's in your corner, and sometimes you hurt, you say you might feel a little hurt there, and you might feel that you a little birdie on your shoulder. It's me saying, get up, you bitch, Cleo loves ya. It's good to have that because I know I've talked to ladies, especially in like I do most of my content bodybuilding, how sometimes when you work with women, it's different aspects compared to men. Like training is different. You also deal with things that are different biology compared to men and women. Men, we have natural strength because we have natural testosterone. We can, when you get to some point, to get stronger. Women, it's just something that you are still learning. You do have just a smidgy bit of testosterone, but when you grow and develop your skill set, and to realize that I'm at a level where I'm pretty good. And you talk about your trainer being like, he reminds me, there was a movie, this movie before your time, it's called Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. It called him Dalton. That sound like, your trainer sound like Dalton. If I see him say, I thought you were bigger. But yeah, so you did with Invicta 61, and that was your first round submission. What was that feeling? Because you know what, it looked like you did pretty good. You really, did pretty good.
Yeah, that was my most dominant fight ever by a long shot. And it was just great. Everything went exactly according to plan. And what's funny is how I defeated my opponent was actually exactly the way that her last opponent defeated her. It was the only video that I was able to find of her to study, and it was in PFL, and it was against Michelle Montag, and Michelle just came out, Maria, with like a flurry of strikes. Maria backed straight up and got kind of on the fence, and then Michelle just clinched her up on the fence, took her down, choked her out, like, and that's exactly what I did. And the thing is, it was in my mind that that was a possible route, of course, that I could take. But then also I have to be prepared for, you know, a 3-round war. I have to be prepared for her to like shoot a double leg out of me at the very beginning. Like you never know what's gonna happen. Um, and I try not to go into my fights anymore with any specific plan because that has seemed to have backfired on me in the past when I get like too fixated on how I want the fight to go and you know fixated on the takedown and things like that. No, it's important to go in there and just let the fight unfold how it unfolds and have confidence that you know my skills are strong everywhere. I have great skill set um, everywhere as a mixed martial artist. There's nowhere that I'm weak, and so I just need to trust myself and just find my path to victory, just feel it out. But yeah, it was ironic that the way I defeated Maria, like the way the fight went was textbook, like exactly how the fight between her and Michelle Montag went in PFL. So, but yeah, it was total domination. It was great. I just came out with a little flurry. Didn't get hit with any strike. I mean, I think she leg kicked me one time, and that was it. Like that's the only strike that landed. And then I clinched her up. Did a takedown. It's this pinch headlock takedown I've been working on a lot lately and hitting a lot in practice. And then landed in the half guard and then was able to execute, you know, one of my very favorite chokes, which is the head and arm triangle. So, yeah, I'm just super proud of my performance. Really happy that I took 0 damage. And then, of course, I'm just completely itching to get back in there and get showcased again, whether it's in Invicta, PFL, like whoever wants the A1, you know, because I am the A1 champion still. So, yeah, I just do fight by fight contracts. That way I'm free to move around because I just need to get fights as a young professional, and I still am relatively young as a professional. I only have 7 pro fights, and I'm looking to you know just fight, and I need to you know win or lose, but I need to take you know just smart matchups, of course, like appropriate matchups. I expect to win all of them. Maybe I won't, but I expect to win all of them, and then just grow, you know, whether I win or lose, I just grow, and that's the goal. Just keep improving, and then I feel like once I can get myself to 10-2, 12-2, then hopefully that'll be the point when the UFC can't ignore me, you know, anymore, and they'll have to put me on their show. And of course, that's the goal of every fighter, right? Get into the UFC, so
Yeah,
and then get that UFC belt.
yeah. I know UFC is probably one of the biggest organizations, especially when it comes to mixed martial arts. Big disappointment is that they don't have 145. That's the sad part. But there's fighters that are ill of UFC, like Chelsea and several others who might need to go to the division because you know we have Kia Harrison about to fight Julia Pena in the next month, and you know, and I think it's next month, or month after next. I can't remember which one. And she's a big natural girl. She's fighting in PFL at lightweight, and she's kind of squeezed herself into a 135. I don't know if she can make it much longer. I think there are opportunities. You know, when Chris Cyber was there, I like Chris Cyber, I'm a fan of hers. But when she lost to Amanda Nunes, and then the situation happened with them, it kind of to me killed the divisions because they wasn't really recruiting. They did try to recruit, but then it was just, I don't know. I think David's not a fan of y'all big girls. That's what it is. We got here my man, shout out to my man, KL, the one coming through. He says, hey, what's up? Good evening. Thank you, brother. Hey, what's up? And also he says, how you get your name KillJoy. And also, he also asks this, KillJoy, can I fight you?
So I'll answer that last question first. So I'm the owner and head instructor of Lula's Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. So I train during the morning and I teach at night. And you know, I'm super proud of my little small business, small gym that I own. And look, anybody that wants to fight me, all you have to do is drive up to Willis, California, come in for your first class, which is free, sign the waiver, and yeah, we can spar, of course. But yeah, just come to my gym. Like anybody can train with me, honestly. Just come through. Anyway, and then answering the question of my name. So my name's Joy, of course. And then a couple of my kickboxing coaches, they both independently, and I'm not sure which one started first, but like they both started doing it around the same time. I'd walk in the gym door and they'd be like, KillJoy, KillJoy, what's up, KillJoy? Like they just started calling me that. So yeah, and then it just stuck, and I love it. Of course, the definition of a killjoy is somebody who deliberately spoils the enjoyment of others, and so that's what I like to do to my opponents. Of course, is ruin their good time, spoil their night, steal their night, steal that victory. So it fits, and I enjoy it because, out in real life, of course, I'm just a normal, nice person. But then in that cage, I have to get into my mentality. I have to get into that headspace of preparing to go to war with somebody, preparing to really hurt somebody, potentially get hurt, but just to have the courage to bite down and get in there and just do it and make it ugly and brawl. And I love it. Look, all of us have that within ourselves. All of us, we come from like how many thousands of years, and all of our ancestors have been warring and going through famines and going through all sorts of crazy things, so that we can get here today. Like all of us have that fighter in us. It's just about accessing it and then strengthening that warrior spirit.
Yeah, kind of like my favorite fighter back there is Mike Tyson. He says, "I just want to fight." He was young, one of the youngest heavyweights in the world. He's like to fight. It's like to fight. It's like to beat the guys up and just give him the ring and hit him the guts, And yeah, I think for my man KL, if you want a fighter, go to California, sign the contract, baby. Get into the on the mat with her. Do a little, it's not what you think, guy. It's not going to be as fun as you think it's going to be. I watched some of these jiu-jitsu fights in matches, and it's tough because it's probably one of the toughest, because truthfully it's the basis for most of MMA, because it started out, UFC was originally owned by the Gracie family. They're the ones who started it, and a lot of fighters have used that in their platforms as fighters. Some had come from boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, so many different disciplines, but that's the one that really started it all. Folks, while we get Joy here, we're gonna jump into her social media for a little bit. If you want to follow Joy, her links are in the description of this live stream. If you're interested in supporting her, because these ladies can use support, even sponsorship does help, because that does help them cover the cost of training, travel, all like that. But guys, it's a nice young lady. I want everybody to be respectful. No D pics. Stop it. I know she's not a bodybuilder, but she's a cute young lady.